Hey Gators and sports fans, get all your Gator talk, news, analysis, and opinions on the Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning podcast. Find us on your favorite podcast platform or watch us on Facebook Live between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. every weekday. Pod Up, because we are Gator fans. So say it's great to be a Florida Gator.
Back to this Wednesday edition of Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. We're now going to go to the Titan MRI Hotline, and we are joined by Sirius XM Radio host, All Elite Wrestling announcer, Alex Marvez, good friend of the program. How are you, Alex?
Shane, Merry Christmas, go Gators. And how often are you looking over your shoulder to make sure there isn't an alligator chomping at you?
Well, you know, it's interesting. I'm big into technology now. I know how to do the only thing these guys taught me how to do on my computer is how to change the different virtual backgrounds. So I try to have something different every day. I have some cool ones. I was in the mountains yesterday, so skiing. So I like to do that. But Alex, we appreciate you taking the time. First, I want to let's jump into the NFL. Let's talk about the three teams here in the state of Florida. Let's first start with the Jaguars. Horrible season, but man, they're going to get Trevor Lawrence unless who knows? Jacksonville may screw it up and trade away the pick. Who really knows? But you can't.
They won't do that. They won't do that. We're hoping though, Shane, that and listen. This happened with Jalen Smith with the Dallas Cowboys and at Notre Dame when he played in his bowl game. And I understand for Clemson, the stakes were even higher for Jalen. He wanted to end his college career with his teammates and suffered a knee injury that sidelined him for a year, almost ended his NFL career because of the nerve damage that he suffered. So I get a little bit nervous. And you were alive, Shane, and at the University of Florida as a quarterback when the late, great Steve Anastasiadis, I believe is how you said his name, the baseball pitcher, passed away in 1990 after what he went in for surgery, and it never came out. And I always get that bad feeling whenever people mock, oh, well, he had a successful surgery. Well, sometimes surgeries are unsuccessful. In the case of Trevor Lawrence, we all hope he gets through this bowl season healthy. But if he's able to do just that, it's a no-brainer for the Jaguars. The whole thing is, Shane, number one, who's the GM? Who's the head coach? Does Doug Marrone have a legitimate chance at staying? And I say, people can laugh at that, but he is well liked by Jaguars management. They just feel that he hasn't had a great deck of cards to play with, so to speak, because of some of the personnel decisions. I still think there'll be a change, but I can't dismiss the possibility. The other thing is, though, this team, and they will have the cap room and they will have the draft equity to do it, but man, they have so much work to do. I mean, every week you watch them, it's not just the offense. This defense is horrific. Yeah. And it's almost at every level. We got C.J. Henderson, Gator cornerback, who hopefully will be a shutdown guy for them, and Miles Jack. And you have, Caleb on Chason from LSU, who should be good in the future, and Josh Allen. That's four pieces right there, and Joe Schobert is five. And after that, almost everyone else on this defense is probably expendable. So you got a lot of work to do on that side of the ball, a lot of work, too, on the offensive line. It's going to take some time, but I think ultimately, though, you get that piece at quarterback with Trevor Lawrence, knock on wood, and the Jags should be pretty respectable, I would think, within a couple years.
Yeah, I mean, you think about it, the kid's only lost one game in his entire life, and that was last year in the national championship game. He's a winner, and I think he's the most NFL-ready quarterback I've ever seen coming into the draft. People mention Peyton Manning and Andrew Luck, which obviously they were phenomenal. But this kid has the smarts, the ability, but he can move. And I think in the game today, you have to move around the pocket, run the football. So, there's been reports out there that the Jags have talked to Urban Meyer. Do you think there's any possibility of Urban coaching the Jags?
You know what Urban Meyer loves? When Urban Meyer is in the headlines. And Urban Meyer's agent loves when Urban Meyer is in the headlines because of the very reason that it raises his price and it raises his value among people for the job that ultimately he wants to take. I think that an NFL team should do diligence on all prominent coaches on the college level and see, hey, is this the right fit for us? I just don't know. When we talk about Urban Meyer, well, have the Jags even hired a general manager? Are they even, it's like we get to put the cart ahead of the horse here a little bit and we try to connect dots and it's media speculation. Look, when it comes to Urban too, and I think there was a real interesting column written recently about him about how much he hates to lose and how losing gnawed at him. And basically he does not internalize that well. Well, if you're going to Jacksonville you're going to be losing for a little bit. 2021, probably part of 2022, and hoping to win in 2023. Is he the right fit? Is he as a college coach the right guy? And I think if you're the Jags, you talk to Dabo Sweeney. If you're interested in bringing in a college coach, I think you got to have Dan Mullen on your radar with the success that he's had at the University of Florida. I think there's other college coaches, Pat Fitzgerald at Northwestern. So I put Urban sort of in that class. And by the way, Urban's walked away from 2 jobs now. Do you want to have a situation like with the Atlanta Falcons back in 2007 with Bobby Petrino, where he was there for 13 games and then walked off? Lou Holtz in 1977 with the New York Jets. A little bit squeamish on Urban. And listen, I'm a proud Gator. You know how much I loved watching his teams play on Saturday, but head coach in the NFL, the Jags, not ready to cross that Rubicon yet.
Yeah, it makes sense. Let's look at the Miami Dolphins. Obviously, they're having a great year. The game the other night was one of the wildest endings I've ever seen to a football game. Do you think, I think Tua is going to be a really good player, but with them being in the playoff hunt, were you surprised, was it 3, 4, 5 weeks ago when Brian Flores, they went with Tua as the starter? I just feel like the team looks a lot better with Fitzpatrick at the quarterback position. Are you surprised that they now where they sit that Fitzpatrick isn't the guy?
You know what's amazing about this? When all is said and done, and I agree with you on the surprise of the move, but when all is said and done, Brian Flores is going to look like a genius because of this, and here is why. If the Miami Dolphins beat the Buffalo Bills on Sunday, it is a daunting task. It's going to be, cold, and the Dolphins generally don't deal well with those types of weather conditions. But if they make the playoffs and we're able to get Tua Tagovailoa seasoning this year while still reaching the postseason, this wasn't Joe Burrow in Cincinnati, Justin Herbert with the Chargers. You're talking about a young man who is able to grow with the team, and his team still makes the playoffs. I mean, what more could you really ask for? Plus, Ryan Fitzpatrick, as we saw against the Raiders, he's okay, maybe not thrilled with it, but he excels when he has to come in as a relief pitcher. So, look, back in the early 1980s, the Miami Dolphins had Woodstock. David Woodley, the former LSU quarterback, he would start the game. Sometimes he wouldn't finish because he wasn't the most accurate passer. That's where Don Strock would come in and save the day often for Don Shula. I think you're seeing a little bit of that redo right here 40 years later with the Miami Dolphins. Do I think they're a team that can go very far in the postseason? Not particularly. I wonder sometimes how they're getting as far as they are, but I think they're so well coached. And, I understand the success that Mike Vrabel's enjoying in Tennessee, but to me, this team looks the most like the New England Patriots, coached by any former Patriot assistant under Bill Belichick so far, because it's really the collective sum of the team rather than these great individual players, especially on defense, who are making plays. Savon Ahmed, even on offense. I mean, this was an undrafted college free agent. He's balling at running back. You've had some guys really step up there. I do think, though, this Dolphins team, you got to be thrilled with what Brian Flores has done. And one more thing about this, Shane, not only do they have their own first-round pick next year, they have the first and second-round picks of the Houston Texans because of the Laramie Tunsil trade. They could be picking as high as number 3 in the draft. Coming off a playoff season, the future surely looks bright in South Florida.
Yeah, it really does. And just real quick, if they beat Buffalo, they're in the playoffs. If not, they have to have some help, correct?
Correct. That's how it's going to work. Yeah, they are one of the teams that are in control of their own destiny, so to speak, to use a Hackney cliche. Is there any other cliche beside a Hackney cliche? It's Indianapolis. It's the one that's on the outs. If Cleveland wins, if Baltimore wins, then those teams are going to the playoffs as wild cards. And then at that point, Indianapolis is the team that's the odd man out because they couldn't adjust to Ben Roethlisberger in the second half last Sunday against Pittsburgh.
Yeah, they were playing horrible and somehow, they were playing well and somehow Pittsburgh came back. Real quick on the Buffalo game, they demolished the Patriots last night. Do they have anything to play for in this game?
So here's the big question, Shane, and you as someone who's been in the NFL for a long time and were successful at it, maybe you can answer this question better than me, but the whole thing is coach think. Do you think now that Kansas City is vulnerable enough as the number 1 seed? And I don't think they've looked all that great as of late. In fact, I think if you look at their victory totals, they've been getting by the hair of their chinny chin. If you think Kansas City may go down and you can have that number 2 seed, how valuable is that to you? Because you're playing for number 2 or number 3. And I think that's where, if you're Pittsburgh, if you're Buffalo, those are the things that you have to weigh this weekend. You're going to be the 2 or 3 seed, but is it worth it to you? And in the case of the Steelers especially, is it worth it to give Ben Roethlisberger a little bit of time off? Remember, this team had its bye changed on them because the Tennessee Titans had sloppy COVID protocols. So they haven't had a break in forever. They're not going to have a bye week. Does it behoove Mike Tomlin to rest his folks? I think it's more so for Pittsburgh to be doing that than Buffalo to be doing that at this point, to be quite honest. Now, they still may pull folks, and I may be wrong, but I think in Pittsburgh's case with a more veteran team, I think it makes a lot more sense to rest your folks against the Browns, let the chips fall where they may, and if you get that 3 seed, fine. You got to be good enough to go up to Buffalo and win if Kansas City should fall. But that's how I look at it from that standpoint.
Chris Doring Mortgage, they do mortgage lending right, helping home buyers throughout Gainesville and North Central Florida. Call Chris Doring Mortgage today, 352-244-0840. We're speaking with Alex Marvez on the Titan MRI Hotline from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Okay, let's go to the Bucs. The Bucs just destroyed the Detroit Lions the other day. That may have been one of the worst performances I've ever seen in the National Football League. I mean, we all know Detroit, every player has the U-Haul sitting out ready to go home, but I've never seen a team perform like that. Having said that, the Bucs look like they're hitting their stride now. It looks like Brady's playing a lot better, getting more comfortable. It looks like they're kind of put in a few of the New England Patriot plays that he's comfortable with. Can the Bucs make a run to the Super Bowl?
They can. And you know, it's interesting when you talk about that Detroit game. And look, for the Lions, just real quickly here, if you ever wanted to know what it would look like if you had 3 people in coordinator positions calling plays for the first time in a game ever, and that was the case at special teams because they had fired the special teams coach. The defensive coordinator was on the COVID list, and Darrell Bevel, who's the de facto offensive coordinator, he was on the COVID list. They were all out. If you ever wanted to see what it looked like, go to that Week 16 game between Tampa Bay and Detroit, because that is exactly what you get when you have inexperienced people doing those jobs. That being said, you can't take away what Tampa Bay did. You're right. Rob Gronkowski now, bigger part of this offense as the season unfolds. They're thrown to the tight end. That's not necessarily a staple of what Bruce Arians does. Ronald Jones should be coming back off of the COVID list. He also has a pinky issue that they're going to want to try to get him on the field Sunday. Bruce Arians has said, get him some carries to see how comfortable he is without a setback, and ride with him, because I don't think you want to become too one-dimensional if you're the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and put it all on Tom Brady's shoulder. But to me, I don't worry so much about the offense. I worry about the defense. And you know, they were so inconsistent at times this year, Shane. I mean, you know, Brady takes all the blame when things go wrong, right? But when you look at those losses to Kansas City, to New Orleans, when you got teams going up and down the field on this Bucs defense, not so good, but they've changed some things as well. You look at Devin White now becoming a real force as a blitzer. And he has become truly a really quality player at that Mike linebacker position for them. So I think Tampa Bay, a very dangerous team heading into the postseason. And one key for them is going to be having the chance to play against the NFC East winner, if they are indeed the top wild card. And I believe that they should end up having that, you know, provided they take care of business against Atlanta on Sunday. To be that number 5 seed, you put yourself in a great spot to be able to go to either Washington, the New York Giants, or the Dallas Cowboys and win that game and move on to the second round of the playoffs. In which case, if you do that, then in all likelihood, you're getting a shot at that number 1 seed, which will either be Green Bay, New Orleans, or Seattle.
So let me ask you this, Alex. Right now, who do you think is going to play in the Super Bowl? Who are the 2 best teams right now that you've seen?
I think we're getting Buffalo and Green Bay. I am sold on Buffalo, and I just Josh Allen right now. I mean, he's doing Patrick Mahomes things, you know, and the addition of Stephon Diggs has meant so much for this offense. You know, the defense is starting to surge. I think they're doing a really nice job. I just feel like they have this mojo going there that, you know, it's just more than Kansas City at this point. The Chiefs, they look sort of tired. And I think that's where that bye will come in handy. Maybe we'll see a different team at Arrowhead Stadium in the playoffs, but just has not been a particularly impressive December to me about that team. As far as Green Bay goes, I just think that Aaron Rodgers right now, he's going to get my MVP vote, barring anything unforeseen. And I think really I can say that I'm one of the 50 voters. He has just been absolutely fantastic. And, you know, Charlie Weiss, he works on Sirius XM NFL Radio like I do, and he had a great point that I never really thought of. And, you know, but it makes a lot of sense. We talk about Green Bay and you know how they haven't made this huge investment in wide receivers in the draft, right? And the lack of number 1 targets, first round targets that he's had. Well, you know, Charlie pointed out that when you pay a quarterback as much as you're paying Aaron Rodgers, part of what comes with that salary is raising the level of everyone around you. And that's what you see Aaron Rodgers doing. You see the great quarterbacks make good wide receivers look like great wide receivers. And Devonta Adams is a great wide receiver, but I'm talking about the Marquez Valdez-Scantlings, the Alan Lazards, Robert Tonyan. I mean, these folks.
Yeah, where do these guys come from?
Exactly. Well, that's the whole thing. So Aaron Rodgers, I think, has just done great. Green Bay did a great job the other night against Derrick Henry. That's been a concern. How well do they hang in there against good running backs? They have struggled with that in Mike Pettine's tenure as defensive coordinator. But I think this Packers team is a complete team, and I think they're the one that ends up playing Buffalo in Super Bowl 55.
Has there been any talk, and I haven't followed it, but once the playoffs start, about fans being in the stands? I know certain places in Kansas City, they have fans, but like in Green Bay the other night, they only invited some of the nurses and doctors and people like that. Has there been any talk about what's going to happen in the playoffs?
It sort of changes, a lot from week to week, almost even day to day, based upon what's happening in your city. I mean, in the case of Green Bay, the COVID situation in Brown County is so severe that they just don't want to risk it by getting large groups of people together. But that's different government. And I'm not going to get into a whole political thing here, but, for the Dallas Cowboys, they had 30,000 fans in the stand the other day. And you would have that many. You might even have more for a playoff game. I mean, there's nothing that's regulating Jerry Jones other than local authorities from saying, hey, let's put 50,000 people in here and, just try not to get sick. So, that's the thing. We don't even know what the Super Bowl attendance is going to be yet, Shane. I mean, for the state of Florida, Ron DeSantis has said you can fill the stadium up. But for the NFL, it's not such good optics if you have people attend the big game and then end up leaving sick and potentially dying. That's not so good for publicity for the league. So I think it's really up to each team on their own. And one other thing about this too, we may start to see some COVID bubbles involving players and coaches start to pop up, especially as we get closer to the Super Bowl, where teams spend an entire week trying to sustain a virtual bubble at a hotel, very strict on who goes in, who goes out, et cetera. But look, let's give Roger Goodell and the league credit here. They're going to end up being the only league out of all the four major sports leagues, and then we can throw in Major League Soccer as well, to have played every single game on the schedule. And a lot of skeptics said this virtual bubble wouldn't work. In fact, it's really worked well. The problem has been when teams don't take it seriously, a la what happened in Detroit, where an assistant didn't wear a mask and then you end up losing your coaching staff, or the Cleveland Browns, who may miss out on the playoffs because they decided that, we don't like mask wearing and we don't want to socially distance in the cold tub. That's how it is.
That's crazy. Last thing for you, Alex. You can follow Alex on Twitter at Alex Marvez. Let's talk Gators real quick. You follow the Gators. They've had a phenomenal year on offense, have a bunch of guys opting out. I want your thoughts on, first of all, Kyle Trask. Do you think he's a first-round quarterback? I've talked to some general manager friends of mine, same guys you know. They usually have him slotted around the third or fourth round, and he can improve that stock, obviously. Where do you see Kyle Trask fitting in the NFL?
Well, with Kyle Trask, I think I look, if I'm building a team, I have no problem playing with Kyle Trask. And I just see it. And really, it's interesting. I saw it almost instantly when he replaced Felipe Franks, in that Kentucky game. Just someone who just was different. He can make the throws. The thing is, he's not the most mobile guy. He's been good. And listen, he's playing on a bad knee, as we know. And, gutsy performance against Alabama, taking advantage of the box that Alabama, the empty box that they were playing. But, I think that because you're going to get into this deal, what's going to work against him, I think, are some of the measurables, right? Stuff that you do at the NFL draft combine, whether it's a 40-yard dash or 3-cone drill or some things like that, because there are just some better athletes this year that are playing the position. And let's not forget, too, look at this quarterback class and all the top-tier talent that's coming out, from the BYU quarterback, Zach Wilson, to Mac Jones at Alabama. We have Justin Fields at Ohio State, and, of course, Trevor Lawrence. And not every team needs a quarterback. So to me, Kyle Trask probably ends up going in the second round, but I think he is a future NFL starter. I think he's going to be a winner, and I am a huge, huge fan of this young man.
Kyle Pitts, you ever seen anybody like him? I know a lot of people compare him to Darren Waller for the Raiders, but gosh, I can't wait to watch him play on Sundays.
I think he's more athletic, to be honest. And you look to it at his body, and I know he put on some weight this year and really worked hard, adding some bulk in the weight room. I think he's going to be even bigger in the NFL. I think he's going to be even faster when he gets into an NFL training program. And he's just lethal. He changes the game for you. I go back to Kellen Winslow. That might be a guy who I think is a comparison to him. Look, he's not a great blocker, but he's willing. But that's not how you're going to use him. I mean, he's just a weapon. And you're right about Darren Waller, who just creates mismatch after mismatch. The Miami Dolphins were, if not the best team, one of the best teams in the NFL when it came to covering tight ends. And Eric Rowe just couldn't do anything with Waller. He was just so dominant. He's been dominant all season. In fact, I guess he had the best 3-game stretch in NFL history of any tight end. I think that Kyle Pitts has that potential to do that ultimately when he reaches the next level. And by the way, for any of the young men who have opted out of the bowl game, I have no problem with that. I understand you have to make a decision about your financial future. It's one thing if the Gators are playing for a national championship, then you can get a little bit, but listen, win or lose against Oklahoma. I'd rather see young players, to be quite honest with you, be on the field, be in that spotlight, start building ahead toward 2021 rather than sit there and try to, we want to win. But again, if it means better in the future with some of these young folks who are able to get out there and get some snaps, hey, I think that's a great opportunity coming up in the Cotton Bowl.
I just want to get before we let you go, Kadarius Toney was one of the most improved players I've seen in a long time. Where do you see him fitting in on an NFL roster?
I think he's probably second-round pick, maybe like a Van Jefferson. And I think Van Jefferson, by the way, is going to be a star with the LA Rams as his NFL career unfolds. But you're right about Toney. I mean, I no question. And, what great symmetry, too, with Kyle Trask, right? I mean, they both grew together this year. And it was a great thing to see. Kadarius Toney, he's special, as a receiver, no question about it. I don't think a first-rounder, but I think a second-rounder is where he's going to be going.
Let everybody know how they can listen to your show.
We're on Sirius XM NFL Radio. I'm on quite a bit, but I guess coming up, usually I'm on late hits. I work with Gil Brandt. I work with Bill Polian. Pro Football Hall of Famers carrying me every week. I'm very happy about that. So we're on usually from 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern time on weeknights, especially in the off season. I host a Sirius XM tailgate show, 9 a.m. to noon on Sundays, getting you ready for all the action. And Saturday mornings with Tim Brown on the weekend kickoff, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. You can see me on All Elite Wrestling doing backstage interviews. TNT, Wednesday nights live, 8 o'clock Eastern time. And I'm on Twitter at Alex Marvez.
Yeah, on the wrestling. I got to ask you ever been hit in the head with a chair or anything?
I've gotten super kicked by the Young Bucks, and that was not such a pleasant experience. That has been my indoctrination into the world of pro wrestling. But no, fortunately, no chair shots yet. And please, Shane, don't give anyone any ideas, because when I send this out on my social media account, people from AEW watch and they may come up with something that involves that. And I'd really prefer that didn't happen.
I don't blame you. Be safe, my man. We appreciate you taking the time. That's Alex Marvez. Join us on the Titan MRI Hotline. Take care, Alex. Be safe, buddy.
Go Gators, Shane. Merry New Year. Happy New Year. Thanks.
At Center State Bank, we put business first. We are the largest community bank in the state of Florida. Understand that small businesses need a community business partner that they can rely on. Center State has 4 convenient Alachua County locations to serve you better. Center State Bank, member FDIC. We're going to take our first time out of the program here. When we come back, we'll be joined by good old Buddy Martin. You're watching and listening to Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning.
Hey, Gators, this is Coach Steve Spurrier. Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning. We'll be right back after this commercial break.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, but small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, where you matter most. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. Celebration Point Town Center, Center State Bank, Chris Doring Mortgage. Some of our touchdown sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, Adams Ribs, Doreen Wiebe Realtor, Caldwell Banker MM Parish, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Davis Gainesville Chevrolet, Miapa Latin Cafe, Rap Spot, Okido America, Gators Dockside, Radware for all your promotional needs, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, TB Financial, Meadowbrook Golf Course, Dar Shakow Insurance. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, you can visit our website, potupwithshane.com, and click the Advertise button or call Freddie at 352-284-3733. Again, thank you for all the great businesses that support the show. Please remember, if you like what we are doing here, thank our sponsors and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to a Tuesday edition of Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you. Small enough to care. We're going to talk about this day in sports, brought to you by our good friends at Comfort Temp. Comfort is our business. Peace of mind is our promise. This month, get a free annual maintenance plan with every residential duct cleaning purchased $199 value. The service department's available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. In 2007, Tom Brady sets a then NFL record, throwing his 50th touchdown pass, and the New England Patriots become the first team in NFL history to finish the regular season 16-0. We know they ended up losing the Super Bowl that year. That's brought to you by our good friends at Comfort Temp. We're now going to head to the Titan MRI Hotline and head to Ocala and talk to our good friend from the Buddy Martin Show, the one and the only Buddy Martin himself. Good morning, Buddy. How are you?
Good morning, Shane, and an early Happy New Year and belated Merry Christmas. It was good to see Alex Marvez again. I think the last time I saw him was 30 years ago when he worked part-time at the Denver Post. That's the last time I saw Alex.
He lives here. He lives in Gainesville.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
he's been working, doing his NFL Sirius Radio, and he does that announcing for All Elite Wrestling. It's quite interesting. I watched it one night. It was funny. But Buddy, news came out yesterday. I'd heard over the weekend that we were going to miss a bunch of dudes. You know, I have mixed feelings about it. I want to get your thoughts, and then I'll tell you my thoughts. Your thoughts, Buddy, on these receivers, which, well, Copeland has COVID, so he can't play. Right. The other three top receivers for Kyle are opting out. Your thoughts?
Well, I would try to use the same measure I would use if it were my son, if it were Luke, and you were making that decision. It goes against everything we ever were taught growing up playing football about the team, quitting on your team. That was what they would call it back then. It's a different day. It's not the same thing. And Franz Beard and I had a heated discussion about this last night. Not heated, but a good debate about what do they owe the university? What do they owe themselves? Is it selfish? Whatever. I've come full circle on this. I'm saying go. And I understand the opting out. I wish it were different, but they're in a system that dictates that they'd be stupid to risk millions of dollars possibly, or playing in a bowl game that really means nothing except the honor of playing for your school. Now, I get how some people can't quite buy into that. I get how people think it's a little bit of a betrayal, but really, folks, think about it. If it's your son, you're telling him what to do, what's the best decision? I'll put that back to you.
Well, I have mixed emotions about it, Buddy, because here's the thing. Only one of those players is a first-round draft pick, Kyle Pitts.
Yeah.
Okay. The other ones, we don't know where they're going to be slotted or where they get drafted. A lot of it's going to depend on how they grade out the combine. You know, you could go and have a bad day and not run a good 40. But then here's the other thing. Are they opting out of the Senior Bowl?
Good point. And some will.
I mean, you got just as good a chance getting hurt in the Senior Bowl as you do in the Cotton Bowl.
Well, maybe not as much because you don't play as many plays in the Senior Bowl. I mean,
well, that's true, but my and like I said, I understand it, but you only have this window of playing college football with the guys that you lived with, came in at freshman classes together. But those kids will be playing if we were in the 14 playoff. So I have mixed emotions about it. I feel bad for Kyle because now it gives younger guys an opportunity to get a lot of playing time. But here's a guy who just had a historical season.
Right.
And what is it? Like 34 out of his 42 touchdown passes, those dudes ain't going to be playing.
Well, it's 174 receptions. It's 2,778 receiving yards. So, and then 34 touchdowns. It's 58%, almost 60% of his total receptions, 65% of the total receiving yards, and 75% of total receiving TVs. So it's a bunch. He lost half his squad, his top four receivers, and now we're going to hear names of people that we have been talking about. And I made my list. I'm sure you did too. But before we go there, let's get back to your original question and let you answer the question. You've got your son, Luke, let's say he's a potential second or third round player, and they're playing in a bowl game. And his agent tells you, don't risk it. It's not worth it. what do you do?
I'd tell him to play, probably, buddy.
Okay. All right. Well, you're
just because I know, because I was fortunate to play 14 years professionally.
Mm-hmm.
Now, most of those were sitting on the sideline, but I was a part of a professional football team for 14 years.
Yeah.
I would trade all of that to be able to play a couple of extra years in college, because there's nothing like college football.
I agree.
Now, some people think different. A lot of people, they can't wait to go buy the cars and the houses and all that kind of stuff, which it's great.
Understandable.
But there's nothing like playing with a group of guys that you live with. Sometimes you go to class, you don't do that anymore, but you live with, you come in as a freshman class. That's a bond that you will have the rest of your life. You will meet a few close friends at the National Football League level, but you're always going to go back and hang out and take family vacations with the dudes you went to college with.
Like your brothers. You're like your brothers.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's where, I don't think Tony or Grimes or any of those guys could increase their value if they went off in the Cotton Bowl. But I also think 20, 30 years from now, they're going to regret not playing in it.
Could be. And I get that too, because look, you're a coach, son of a coach. It's in your coaching blood. I understand how people feel like team first, but let me just offer this scenario. There is a way to fix this, I think. And look, let's be honest, a year of COVID, it's been a hard year mentally for a lot of people. Absolutely. And it's easier. Some guys opted out and didn't even play this year. These guys played this season. Let's give them credit for that. And they made a decision. History will judge whether it's right or wrong. I don't know. I'm just saying I'm allowing that to happen for people that think it's their time and they don't have anything to play for. And I don't want to waste it on a Cotton Bowl. Now, look, Kyle Trask has a reason to play, not the least of which his grandfather played that bowl game.
Let me ask you this, buddy. Do you think Kyle would be playing if we were playing in the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl?
Probably.
Yeah, I firmly believe he would be playing no matter where.
Because he always has.
I think if we were playing in the Independence Bowl, he would be playing. That's just how he is, how he's wired.
Yeah.
And again, I have zero problems with the kid not deciding not to play. I'm looking at it from having been there and done that. I never opted out, but you have no idea what so many players would do to go back to be able to have a couple more opportunities to play a college football game.
I'm sure they would. And in football in general, as Terry Bradshaw said in his Hall of Fame speech, if I could put my hand under Mike Webster's butt one more time, they had that bond, not for that reason, but and I get that, and it's sad in a way, but even Urban Meyer says, I get the fact that they opted out. I get that this is all changed. And he's right. The things they care about, among them are getting drafted. That's a dream, of every player to play in the NFL. So
I didn't get drafted, so I'm still waiting on that dream.
Well, you listen, a lot of guys who got drafted didn't make it past the first 6 games. You played 14 years. So I'm sure you're grateful for that. And like Coach Spurrier says, backup quarterback's the best job in pro football.
Yeah, it ain't bad. So, buddy, what do we have to do something to change the format?
Yeah.
To make these at least the New Year's 6-day games mean something. I mean, think about it. The Orange Bowl, the Cotton Bowl, the Peach Bowl, these are in a Fiesta Bowl. These are games that are huge bowl games that mean nothing right now because of the way the format is.
Yeah.
What do we have to do? We have to expand, don't we?
You're walking right into my wheelhouse. You're going to get my speech again for the 55th time since we've been doing this. It's not hard. It wasn't hard 2 years ago. It wasn't hard last year. It's simple. Make the games meaningful and not meaningless. Use the bowls. You could expand easily, but for some reason they're so arrogant they won't listen to this. This would have been the year to do it. Expand this easily to 12 teams and have 6 games and have those 6 games and use those bowl games. Now you got a meaningful game, and the chances are probably pretty darn good that every player will show up for a playoff game, right? It means something. And you won't have much opting out then if they are, then they're our teammates. Create that chain. What's a bond on a team like? It's everything. There's a bond. And when you build a bond around, this is our goal. We're going to do this. We're going to get to the playoffs. Everybody's going to opt in. There won't be people quitting and opting out. So let's just do the math. 6 games, right? You got 6 games, you got 3 games, or whatever. You play it down and you use the bowl games. You're going to have another 10 games in postseason plus the conference championship. Now you have a schedule. You can still have those smaller bowls if you want to and use what I call the so-called Division II teams in there and have their own little playoff. I just think it's time they realize it's all about eyeballs. It's all about players having to be wanting to play for something. And as much as I'd like to say that, the bond will last no matter what, you got to give them something at the end in the COVID year. So if we had playoffs this year, do you think those guys would be opting out? Not a one of them.
No, I agree with all of that. It's a shame. Because think about how excited, people around the country are to watch the Cotton Bowl. Okay, that's a big bowl game. I think it's the only game on tomorrow night, prime time. And just think if Spencer Rattler was a senior, and he says, you know what, we have nothing to play for here. I'm going to sit out. And if Trask wasn't wired the way he is and the game wasn't in Texas, if he sat out, nothing against the kids that will be suiting up for those players, but you're not getting the best product. And that's where college football has got to change and do something.
100%. Got to do something. And not only that, when you get into the conference championships and games, and then you get into the first round of playoffs, geography matters. If Oklahoma's in the game and they're playing it in Dallas, you're going to have a big crowd. Crowds won't be a problem. You'll have sold out stadiums. You'll have great TV ratings. You'll have bowls that matter, all those things. But no, they say we only want 4 teams. Why? That might have worked 10 years ago. You want to go back to the BCS? Really, it's just ridiculous. They're shooting themselves in the foot. I'm not in favor of having somebody run college football by themselves because it's not that way. But it makes me want to have a czar in college football. Let's go get somebody who can make decisions and call the shots and do the right thing because they have screwed this one up. And poor Kyle Trask. I want to get your evaluation of this. What are we talking about here? I've got the Heisman finishes for the history of Florida football. How does he fit in now? What has he done? The sad part about it is they could very well lose this game. And if they lose this game, Kyle Trask, arguably one of the top 3 or 4 quarterbacks in the history of Florida, will go out a loser 3 in a row. Can that be possible? And yet that doesn't tell the real story. That's a lie. And I know what this kid has meant to this program. And you look at the few points and a few seconds that cost him a possible undefeated season. And look how close he was. If he takes that team downfield and beats Alabama, it changes his world in every respect, including the Heisman Trophy. And that means what? A statue out front. No, there's nothing wrong with what he's done. Just like nothing wrong with what you've done. You've done really more because you won a couple of SEC titles. He never got that. So history is not going to be as kind to him, I think, as it should be.
Well, I think it depends on who you're talking to. I think he will definitely go down in majority of the Gator Nation as one of the top stories of all time, one of the best players of all time, best season. It's funny. I guess you could go back. There were a couple of plays here. The pick 6. He didn't play. His worst game was against LSU. We all know that.
Right.
But if you beat Alabama, who knows what happens. You probably could go back to Rex Grossman's year too and find out a couple of plays here where if this doesn't happen, Rex has a statue. So, it's a lot of players that deserve statues. I ain't gonna lie. Eric Rhett needs one. Chris Leak probably needs one. But the story of Kyle Trask will forever be there. It's phenomenal. I wish the kid a lot of luck. I hope he goes out a winner. But you're right. I didn't think about that, buddy. Heck, we could lose 3 in a row, and that ain't on Kyle Trask. That just doesn't look good for our. It doesn't look good for our season.
Of course, that's why perspective means everything. It's like the LSU game. One of those interceptions is don't wasn't his fault. You know that he had that bounced off the player and came back, and Tony had it in his hand momentarily. The perspective of this season and the power of his story. When you talk about that night in Kentucky that he showed up on the field and where he's come from, this is a story that should be told for all time to Gator football players. The guy who wouldn't quit. It's almost like a children's book, the little engine that could. You know, this guy this is what you want to have inbred in your program. He stands for all the right things, and I hope history will keep in mind. I've got the list of players who finished the highest in the Heisman, including you. And he'll be a Final Four. We know that. Probably not going to have. I don't think he's going to win it. Unless they split the votes crazy. If they split the votes crazy, that'd be great. But probably not going to happen.
Yeah, it's truly amazing. I actually looked yesterday. I had a friend look and the odds were Devontae Smith is the favorite now, clear favorite.
Yeah,
I mean it's not even close.
Oh yeah, they had a poll on it.
And then Trevor Lawrence and Mac Jones are very close, and Trask is like way off in the distance. And it just blows my mind how it changed in like a month.
Flavor of the week.
Yeah.
LSU game, Alabama game. If he goes downfield and they score and he beat Alabama, it changes everything, including probably he gets a statue. Well, let me give you these numbers because you're in them. This is the guys that finished top 5. Let's see, we don't count the guys who won the trophy. You finished 5th, which is among the highest. Grossman was 2nd. Other than that, you're going to have Trask at 4. So having said that, we know the 3 winners, no Rex and you. I think I've got everybody else, like DeBose was 6 and Chandler was 10th, etc. I think
who was 6?
DeBose.
Jimmy DeBose?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was thinking of somebody else. Never mind.
No. Chandler was 10th. Chandler was a great player. He was a great player, and so on. So I've got the list here. I think it's accurate. Some good work by one of my friends there that I was able to cobble. But the point is, I don't know if that's a way to gauge people or not. Shane, you're right up there. You know, you actually, if you want to be honest about it, depending on how you judge quarterbacks, and a lot of times Terry Bradshaw gets left out, but he's got 4 Super Bowl rings. You know, if you want to do numbers, 212 interceptions is not a pretty picture optically, and he laughs about it. But my point is that how do you judge I've had this discussion for 100 years. How do you judge a quarterback? Do you judge him on his numbers, Fran Tarkin or whatever? Do you judge him on the championships? You know, do you number of years, durability, you should make a list sometime. What are the criteria of a great quarterback? What is it? So if we're talking about quarterbacks at Florida, top 10 or whatever, I mean, Trask is there. You're going to be in there for what you did, your body of work and what you did. And not only that, you turned the program around, which is huge. So I think when you judge quarterbacks or body of work, you got to judge how it impacts a program. And certainly Tim Tebow is not a pretty picture back there throwing deep balls. He got it done when he had to. But compared to the results, he had the results. He won the championships. So you got to put him in there. Anyway, it makes for interesting. I just think I'll put it this way. I've been watching college football longer than most grandfathers, okay? And I can tell you this much. This guy's right there near the top of my list in terms of quarterbacks, and I've watched them all play. And I got to put him in my top 3 at least.
Refresh your vehicle and your brand with a vehicle wrap from Wrap Spot. December is your lucky month at Wrap Spot. Mention promo code Shane and receive 13% off your vehicle wrap. Speaking with Buddy Martin here from the Buddy Martin Show on the Titan MRI Hotline from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. All right, buddy. NFL. They're looking at some college coaches.
Yeah.
Is Dan Mullen one of them? And then you're very close to Urban. You know, there's a lot of talk about Urban going out there. Do you think he goes to the Jaguars?
Well, let me say this. I hear from a very good source, not Urban Meyer and not Dan, that Dan has been contacted again by an NFL team. It's happened to him frequently. Now, there's contacting, there's job offers. Every coach, if he's smart, and I'm sure most of them are, is going to use that leverage to better themselves. They may not go in there and demand a raise, but the general managers and the athletic directors know the NFL's calling. If you're sitting in a situation where probably money is not going to change it for Dan Mullen. If he decides to go, he's going to go, and Florida's not going to pay him. May I don't think to stay. I think Dan. This is just an opinion, a gut feeling. I have no information. I think Dan stays right where he is. I think he realizes he's not that far away because if using his standards, when he was asked 2 years ago, what's the difference between Florida's program and Georgia's program, he said 7 points. Okay, what's the difference between Alabama's program and Florida's program? Right,
6
same
points.
thing. There you go. So consequently, if you're there now, you're almost there. Is it worth staying for a couple more years? His kids are probably happy in school, Megan's happy. But if the Cowboys offer him $10 million and he gets to coach Dak Prescott, I don't know. My gut, it tells me he's there, but he'll get offers. He'll get people, agents, they have a shopping list. They call 10 guys. Urban, after doing Canada yesterday, about 13 hours of programming with Urban since last on our podcast, which, by the way, if I could just mention, Best Fridays in Football on Evergreen or on any podcast, Apple, whatever you go, iTunes, you can get it every Friday. Usually it's Urban and Terry and a couple of other people. But Urban, I've had to read the tea leaves here. I would say I don't agree with Marquez saying he loves the attention. He doesn't really love it, honestly. I've talked to him about it. He doesn't like talking about it, even off the record talking about it. But he's not a fool. Shane, if they're calling you every day about being the next anchor on ESPN, NFL Live, whatever, it might not make Freddie Weavy happy, but you can't deny it would make you happy. You love the attention, right? You want people to hear your name out there. Urban tells me he doesn't speak on it, and he won't speak on it even in private conversations. He just simply said, look, it's a family decision. Health is still an issue. People don't understand. He's got an arachnoid cyst in his brain still, and it's hard to drain it, and it's exacerbated by stress. So you look at his lifestyle now, and you say this versus that. I mean, the only thing I can think of was what if he went to the Jaguars and coached 2 years and went to the front office? He likes that kind of stuff. He's smart. He's a very organized guy. He can make a great front office guy. But in my opinion, he stays right where he is. And I know Alex Marvez is wrong. He does not love having his name brought up. He doesn't even like talking about it.
Huh. Interesting. Yeah. I feel like he's going to coach again. How coaches are, buddy. They have a hard time staying away.
It's like drugs. They can't quit. Like I told Coach Spurrier when he went down to the Apollos, I said, writers got to write, singers got to sing, and coaches got to coach. It's in your blood. You can't help yourself.
Yeah, there's no question about that. Buddy, who you got on the show tonight?
Well, you for one, which is always good, and Cassidy Hill, who's been covering the Cotton Bowl for us. I hope, although a COVID situation she might have to opt out because of family COVID situations. Even writers have to deal with it. And then, of course, our friend Dave Moulton from South Florida giving us the picks. I got to get the schedules out and read when the games are. I've got to hear someplace. It's so confusing.
We play tomorrow night, buddy. And before we let you go, how do you think this game plays out against Oklahoma?
Well, it could be a boat race. It just depends. But I think Florida's still favored, I guess. They were by 3.
We're not.
No, they changed
They
all
are.
that. Okay.
They're favored now.
Well, I understand. But I'm going to ask you a question. Of these people, which receivers are going to step up and take the place of all those 4 guys? I mean, I think Shorter will be a guy that will rely on a lot. We know about the tight ends, obviously, Gamble and Zipper. I don't know the status. You might know of Trent Whittemore.
He's back. You know, it's crazy to think that he's back after broken ribs and a punctured lung.
Yeah.
But I can't remember what game that was. They wouldn't be suiting him up if he wasn't ready to go. He's a guy that's very, very reliable and going to make plays. So if he's 100%, I would assume he would make some plays tomorrow night.
Yeah, I would think that. And then you got guys like Wells. I've heard about Wells for 100 years. Let's see what his game's going to be. And then I think Weston, a guy to watch for, this is just a hunch. He hasn't played at all, but it doesn't matter now, and they might need him. Jaquavion Frazier.
Oh, Frazier's,
yeah, and he's a big, tall guy who can catch the ball.
Well, Xavier Henderson's played quite a bit this year.
Yeah, he has.
I would expect him to have a impact on this game. Well, and of course, they're going to throw to the backside of the backfield. But
Pearson, right.
It's going to be interesting. There's no question with all those really good football players. That's very strange. I mean, usually as a quarterback, you don't worry about it because you just go through your reads and you make your throws. But gosh, that's a lot of production.
Ton. But if you get open, Kyle Trask will probably find you.
Yeah.
He's good at that. I like that about him. He's a good distributor. And by the way, we have not mentioned Marco Wilson. He opted out. Nobody mentions his name. And it's someone told me last night, and we all know the difficulty he had with the shoe game. It's addition by subtraction. He's unfortunately finishing his career in a way that he doesn't want to and nobody wants. We wish Marco all the best, but it's probably time for him to go.
It may be, but I'm going to go right here, and I could be 100% wrong. He's going to play in the NFL for a long time, I think.
Maybe. We'll see. Let's see what he's based on what he's shown the last year or so. It doesn't look like he's going to be a high draft choice.
Well, maybe not, but that doesn't mean he can't make a roster, play special teams, be the nickel guy.
I hope he does.
Play a long time. I think he will. I personally do, and it is what it is. Anyway, buddy, appreciate it, man. Stay safe, and we'll talk to you tonight.
Looking forward to it, Shane. Thanks very much.
That's Buddy Martin from the Buddy Martin Show. Join us on the Titan MRI Hotline. We're going to take our final time out of the program. When we come back, we'll wrap up this show. You're watching and listening to Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning.
Hey, Gators, this is Coach Steve Spurrier. Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning. We'll be right back after this commercial break.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, where you matter most. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. Celebration Point Town Center, Center State Bank, Chris Doring Mortgage. Some of our touchdown sponsors are Big Mills Cheesesteaks, MB Listing, Cornerstone Financial, McDonald's Gainesville, My IT Masters, Gainesville Neon and Signs, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie, Chick-fil-A on Archer Road, Aver and Smith Personal Injury Attorneys, Orange Theory Fitness, PRP Regeneration Specialist, and Dowling Signs. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, you can visit our website, potupwithshane.com, and click the advertise button or call Freddie at 352-284-3733. Again, thank you for all the great businesses that support the show. Please remember, if you like what we are doing here, thank our sponsors and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Been a good show today. Want to thank our good friend Alex Marvez from NFL Sirius Radio, talking a little NFL with us. And then, of course, Buddy Martin from the Buddy Martin Show. You can hear his show every Monday through Friday on about 9 o'clock Eastern time on Facebook, called the Buddy Martin Show. But that's pretty much it going to be today for today's show. I got a couple of college football games this afternoon. I believe Miami plays Oklahoma State. I can't remember the other game, but enjoy the games, folks. Be safe out there. Make sure you follow us and like us on Facebook Live, YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Today's show's a wrap, brought to you by Wrap Spot. We will see you tomorrow.